Welcome to the podcast that brings you interviews, reviews, arts and entertainment news, all wrapped up in one place. You're listening to Art to Art with Amanny Mo. Coming up in this episode, I'll be having an art to art with a tour de force, a musician with powerhouse vocals who certainly brings the sass and the New Orleans flavour wherever she performs.
I love the joyful entertainment factor of this music that I'm doing currently, this jazz music, because it's meant to dance to, it's meant to elevate your spirit, it's meant to bring you out of the humdrums, the darkness and the sadness. That's what it was built for.
Singer-songwriter Judith Owen is a performer who was introduced to jazz music by her parents, and she's never looked back since. Her range spans a variety of styles from rock to classical, blues to musical theatre, but in her last album, Come On and Get It, Judith focused on the forgotten women of jazz and blues, the trailblazers who were unapologetic about who they were and the songs they wanted to write and perform.
So much a woman's thing is the feeling like somehow you go through life apologising and wanting to put everybody first, taking care of everybody else first and then yourself. And it's like these women were the antithesis of this. They were like, nah, I'm number one and this is what I do and this is it.
In fact, Judith is so passionate about these women of the 40s and 50s and their stories that she's created a 10-part podcast on that very subject called Unapologetically Judith Owen, hosted by journalist Bibi Lynch, who, incidentally, has also been on Art to Art. In part one of my conversation with Judith, which was recorded ahead of her London gig in early July, I wanted to begin with where I saw her last, which was in 2023 at London's renowned musical venue, the Jazz Cafe. You're listening to Art with Amanny Mo. I just want to double back a little bit and relive a moment in time where I came to watch you at the Jazz Cafe live. I dragged along some friends and they were just like, wow. I said, you see? I told you. They just thought I was being like, oh, this is my friend, wonderful Judith. So I wanted just to get your take on that experience of being in London at the Jazz Cafe in Camden and also doing it with Jazz FM, which is absolutely brilliant.
They're such champions of mine. They've already had the new record, being sort of album of the week, album of the morning, breakfast album, everything. They're just glorious people who are such music fans and supporters. But I have to say that the Jazz Cafe was it will be a show, put it this way, that I will remember forever because it's in my hometown. It's back in London. I'm bringing my New Orleans band, the Callers, back with me. So, there's a certain joy and sense of it coming all the way around. Bringing something home like that is a thrilling thing. And having, of course, as you saw, basically a mass of humanity right behind me, dancing with me. Just the joy in that room was extraordinary. It was an extraordinary night. I mean, I was a little overwhelmed. I got a little teary at the beginning when I came out because I felt the true love and there's nothing like it. When you come home, it feels very, very special for all of us.
Oh, absolutely. And there was a funny moment that you won't know about. So I was outside and obviously I've seen you in Guildford before because you came onto my BBC radio show actually a few times, not just once, but we met in person, didn't we, back in, I think it was 2019. Yep. And then I came to see you, it was at the Electric, I think, in Guildford. And then I met Pedro. So when we're outside the Jazz Cafe, I was like, Pedro. He's like, and I said, remember me? I met you in Guildford. Oh, yes, I do remember, because I'm sorry, I don't remember your name, but I do remember. He loves the Pedro.
Well, in this show coming up, I've actually got two drummers. Pedro is guesting because having gone to New Orleans and Pedro ending up, we're getting married, of course, and living in America. But, I absolutely feel 100% responsible for all of that. Of course I am. So he's been on the road with another friend of mine in New Orleans, John Cleary, who's just remarkable. So the drummer that I recorded this new record with and who will be at the Wilton show is, I feel so honored. The people I get to play with is ridiculous. It's Snarky Puppy's drummer, Jameson Ross. Oh. So who is you'll fall in love with him too, basically. You wait. You won't see him. Sadly, you won't be there. But honestly, wow. So yeah, I'll have two. I mean, why have one when you can have two?
If nothing else, it's going to be epic. It always has been. I've always loved having a chat with you, and you and me can just chat for England, I know.
Wales. I have to say Wales. You're England.
The last album, Come On and Get It, absolutely epic, beautiful songs, and the musical kind of reworking of those, very respectfully done, but you really Judithified them, I want to say. Really made those your own. And tell me a little bit about what happened after the release of the album. I know there's a podcast as well that people can tune into, but you have a real appreciation for the women of the 40s and 50s, don't you?
I have a real appreciation for women, period, as they say in this country where I am. Full stop for the Brits. Just because, as a woman, as an artist, as a composer, as a singer, but basically as a female artist and entertainer, I appreciate the struggles, the journey, the road, all those corny words. And I feel that there's so many women who have been overlooked, forgotten, unsung, who were the real trailblazers, who were responsible for people like me and people we all know and adore, like Alicia Keys, and any woman that you ever see, or Nora Jones, anybody that you see, a woman at the piano, any woman that you see being big and bold and brilliant on a stage. It's because of these women. They opened the doors because they were so unapologetically authentic. They were themselves. They weren't going to be decoration. They weren't going to be decorative on stage. And that's at a time when women, especially in jazz, which is a very misogynistic business, part of the business. It all is really. But at that time, you were meant to look pretty and adorn the stage and, have a beautiful voice. But these women were just, oh God, they were gangsters. They owned the stage. They were band leaders. They were doing it their way. They were in charge of their bands. No one was going to tell them. They were sexy. They were funny. They had wit and charm and brilliance. They were brilliant musicians and band leaders, and they owned those stages. And I think it's about time that, these women who I grew up listening to, because my dad, of course, was so obsessed with this music, as you know. But it felt to me that it's like there's a lot of women who deserve our gratitude. And deserve to be known because they've been unsung for so long. So that was the point of Come On and Get It. And it is a celebration of them. And this new album, Judith Owen Comes Alive. I know you thought I was live already, but I've really come alive now. But, it basically, I know what happened. It's me live in Bern, Switzerland, at this extraordinary venue, Marion's in Bern, Switzerland, where we did 11 shows in 5 days. Astonishing. I know. Oh. And recorded the whole thing. And then, so it's some of the songs from Come On and Get It, but it's a lot of new songs. It's like the next chapter. Who the next woman? It's not all women now. It's, of course, it's the first Aretha song I ever heard. And not the one you would expect, but Trouble in My Mind, more her in church doing that thing that I love so much. Some Sarah Vaughan, some Ella, but it's not the typical thing. And again, yes, I Judify it. Of course I do. But there's men in there that I adore too, like, Louis Jordan, Frank Sinatra, Nat King Cole. It's the music that just made me want to be a big, unapologetic, powerful woman. And so it just continues. And of course, I've got my callers, the band, who I am in charge of. They basically are the most extraordinary group of musicians
I have to say,
always feel, you've seen them. I mean, it's just incredible.
Having seen them, watched your chemistry with them on stage. It's not just about your presence, bringing the sass as well. I love that, Judith. But, it's how you all gel together, which is just absolutely sublime. And actually, I should say at this juncture that you can go on YouTube and check out one of Judith's songs that's recorded in Bern off this new album. It is so beautiful. And, there's just a magic, I want to say, that happens on stage. That sounds corny, but I don't, what I mean, right?
I'm getting now more and more reviews talking about this very thing. And then the best one I thought that really summed it up was a recent reviewer who described it as being the chemistry and the connection between us being so special that it is bordering on telepathic. And it's kind of the truth, because where we go, I'm giving all the cues, but what I do, oh my God, there they are. What they do, it's like it's 7 people on stage with 1 brain. And that's how it feels. It's bordering on telepathic. And that's what music should be. You're not thinking, you're in the moment being, reacting.
Absolutely. I just felt like when I was watching you, it was all coming from the heart. You brought the New Orleans feel with you 150%. It's not an act. It's not a PR tagline. You really brought it, Judith, and I really believe that, and I feel that everyone should at least experience Judith live once. I know you're going around Europe as well with your new album, and that's important to know. People can find you judithowen.net, I think I'm right in saying.
That is correct. I'm loving this next little push because it means I'll be in the Fort Lacluse in the Swiss Alps, and then Espace in, again, the French Alps, and then the Copenhagen Jazz Fest. It all sounds so glamorous. Let me tell you, traveling in summertime is as glamorous as having a fork stuck in your eye. But as long as I get there and get on stage, I'm not joking. Get this one. It took me 40 hours. I just played Milan's Blue Note. It was absolutely sublime. Sold out. It was like ecstatically joyful. The next day, little did I know that there were going to be so many cancellations and so many delays. It took me 40 hours to get from Milan to New Orleans. 2 days.
I've got tears in my eyes thinking about it.
Heathrow. Now, I think all British people appreciate my pain. The woman, I mean, the absolutely unempathic woman who basically, I don't know what she was feeling. She was so deeply unmoved by anything I had to say that I went to see at BA was as painful an experience as I've ever said. Her first words were, "Oh, you missed your plane, didn't you?" And it's as if it's my fault. To which I said, "No, your plane was so delayed and so late leaving Milan to come to Heathrow. You forced me to miss my," and to which her, it literally was, computer says no. It was the whole time, it was literally, that's what I was faced with. And I broke down, I cried, I was sobbing. And there was this great British moment where everybody sort of looked away. They all looked away because it was so embarrassing. No one helped. No one kind of said, "Oh, are you all right, love? Do you?" No. And I just thought, this is what British comedy is based upon. This is just so dreadful. So, I was in my own Mike Leigh film. It was great. I was just sobbing. And then I said, "Give me my bags back and I'll get my own return flight." And she went, "No, we can't find the bags. They've already gone in some kind of like storage for your connecting flight that we put you on tomorrow, where you have a 9-hour layover in Chicago." Anyway, that's just my life on the road. Don't get me wrong. It's worth it, but it's all worth it because then you get on stage and it's like, we're all road warriors. The thing about being with these guys, and I'll get back to that and stop venting, is that you must be on the road with people you love and enjoy. That's why Pedro and I have always had such a joyful time. Lise, the same thing. I'm always with these amazing guys, all these guys from New Orleans. We have such a good time on the road. Because you better be. It's too hard. You better love the people that you're with. You're going to be spending a lot of time in airports with them. So you better like them. Suck it up. That's what I say. Suck it up. Yeah,
I'm sorry that the British public let you down then on that occasion.
It's a great British story, though. We all know it, don't we? We all know that
We've
one.
all been there.
Yeah, it was horrendous. But the fact I broke down really hurt.
The thing about what you're doing is you love it. That comes across. The audience, from what I witnessed when I came to see you live, there's like quid pro quo thing going on. You're giving out energy and then they're giving out energy, and then this whole the vibe changed in the place, which is just incredible. And that's the beauty of live music. And this album, I know you did Fever live there, your own version, which I actually think I died and went to heaven. That's one of my favourite songs. And I Put a Spell on You is another one of my favourite songs. And I know both of these are on your new album, Judith Owen Comes Alive. Tell us about some of the other songs on there, what we can expect when we come to this album.
There's nothing like live. I mean, the studio albums are different animals and they're wonderful, but I have a real love of live recordings and of the live environment. I don't think there's anything like it. It's magical because you are the only person who will ever see this. It really is a fact that you are seeing something that will never be replicated, that only you are seeing. And that we should not forget that it doesn't matter what happens with AI, it doesn't matter what happens in this world, with anything that you can see on the computer, and I'm just as guilty as everyone else. When it comes to the live performance, nothing will ever take the place of it, because it is a moment in time that you cannot replicate, and that is precious. That is really special. So and with a band like this, and with the music I'm doing, and with who I am and the way I am, it is so different every single night. It is so different. Every single moment is different. The stories I tell, the things that I say, the connection with the band, the solos they do, the solos I do, everything is different based upon how everybody feels, and that's what living music is. And because, somebody once walked up to me and said, well, a few people walked up to me and said, I didn't even think I liked jazz. This is one of my favorite lines, but I love this. And I to which I say, well, I understand. There's many kinds of jazz. I'm not just a jazzer. I'm an artist. I cover many things. I'm a classical musician. I'm a jazz musician. I'm a blues musician. I write, pop, music that would be seen as being a commercial, having that pop side or that rock side. So it's sort of like, to me, it's like I understand what they mean. I love the joyful entertainment factor of this music that I'm doing currently, this jazz music, because this was the popular music of its time. This was the pop music of its time. It's meant to dance to. It's meant to elevate your spirit. It's meant to bring you out of the humdrums, the darkness, and the sadness. That's what it was built for. Right after World War II, it was the precursor to the rock and roll era, and it was meant to elevate and bring joy, and that's exactly what it does. And right now, I don't know, I just watched the British debate, and then I sadly did actually sit through the American presidential debate, and I feel like this is the most hopeless time that any of us have ever seen. So I have to say, coming off of COVID, which is why I started all of this, I feel like that experience where people are in a room feeling it is essential. It's kind of a secular church-like moment. It's what you get when you go to a Baptist church in New Orleans. You feel like you're surrounded by your community of people who want to be elevated too, and we're all in this together, and we are feeling it. It is so special, and it is a thing that only music brings. It truly is. It's not going to be a standing audience, but I'm expecting people to jump out of their seats, because that's what I want. Don't be nervous, people. You don't have to sit down and watch this stuff. You can get up and dance. You can do anything you want, but it will be a truly elevating experience. And I think, like you said, in if you want to see what you're going to come and see, go on YouTube, see Lady Be Good, which is done in a way that it hasn't been done before. Songs like Caledonia, Trouble in Mind is coming next, but you can see what it is that I'm doing. It is a very high energy, high octane thrill ride that can also go to a song, as you said, like Fever, and take you into such a sort of dreamlike, magical place.
You're listening to Art to Art with me, your host, Amanny Mo. You can catch up with all episodes on our website, Art to Art, that's art, the number 2, art.uk. That was just part 1 of my chat with the rather fabulous singer-songwriter Judith Owen. If you want to find out more about her or where she's heading to next, you can head on over to judithowen.net. I can vouch for what my guest Judith Owen said there, having watched her and the callers live. It's simply, in a word, wow. I absolutely defy anyone who isn't up dancing on their feet by the end of the first verse. Yes, Judith and the callers are really that good. You can also find some of Judith's music videos on YouTube, but also check out this podcast's episode description where you can find links to all of the things discussed, including her 10-part podcast series, Unapologetically Judith Owen. Coming up shortly, we'll have part 2 of my chat with Judith, but I just wanted to take a moment to remind you there are plenty more episodes with some great guests. If this is your first time listening to my podcast, Art to Art with Amanny Mo, please feel free to dip your ears into some other episodes. So whether you like music, comedy, theatre, films, or even telly, you can find a broad range of interviews with Oscar and BAFTA-winning talent, actors, and TV shows that may tickle your fancy. You can listen or download episodes of Art to Art with Amanny Mo for free on all major platforms, YouTube, or visit my new website, Art to Art, that's art, the number 2, art.uk. But for now, let's get back to part 2 of my conversation with Judith, where we'll be talking more about her style of jazz, her podcast, and the female trailblazers she reveres. I love the music, I love the genre, but I was not born in that era. So to kind of, I don't say replicate it, but to bring us that kind of joy, a bit of Judith joy, is just fabulous.
The thing that is astonishing, you know, everywhere I play, I get such a broad audience, but so many people in their like mid-20s, early 30s. This music is 70 years old, but it's classic. It has a classic, to me, well, it's because I grew up listening to this stuff because, you know, my parents were like, you know, they were listening to this. My dad was collecting this when he was a kid. So this is the stuff. And it was bloody old then. So it's, you know, it's kind of, it's amazing that it has this relevance and vibrancy. But that speaks deeply of how great this music is and of how that joy and hopefulness and fun, you know, everything's done with a wink, with this kind of sexuality, with this thing where it's like, you know,
so playful. It really is. And also
so playful.
What I love about your gig is not just like, oh, here's 10 songs, bye everybody. There's a bit of chit chat. There's a little bit of banter with the gentleman callers. There's a real sort of vibe to it. And I mentioned before, it really does feel like that New Orleans feel, and you really do bring it. It's brilliant. And so if anyone gets a chance, go see Judith.
Please calm down. Please calm down. You won't see this outside of New Orleans because one of the things, the reason the band are called the Callers, they were the gentlemen callers, but they're not gents. So they're the Callers now. But the reason they're called the Callers is because it's only New Orleans musicians who you ever see shouting out at each other. You saw that. It's like, if I sing something they like, one of them will shout out, "You see, Jude?" If somebody else plays something and they love it, they're all shouting at each other. They're shouting approval. That's what you do. It's extraordinary. It's like the church of music. And it is that thing where the calling out is a big part of this. Nobody is being all prim and proper. This is a show, and the band and the audience are in the party together. You know, we're all in this. We're in this together. And that's what makes it so thrilling. So yeah, come on
down. But also, you know, you might be living somewhere else. I mean, Art to Art, the podcast, the third biggest listenership is in Germany. So, you know, Germany, South Africa. I mean, I don't know, you might get to South Africa at some point. You never know. But
I will be getting to South Africa at some point, and I certainly will be getting to Germany because it's such a huge jazz market. The thing that makes me very excited is the vinyl is about to come out, I think, on July 12th. I'm a needle drop person. I am. And for this music, you know, there's something so sexy about vinyl. It'll never. And I love the fact that it's so popular again. I love it. I love that.
I totally 100% agree with you. Vinyl has just got that lovely crackly feel to it. You can't replicate that either. Kind of wrapping things up a bit, I know you've got a podcast, so Unapologetically Judith Owen is the podcast. Bibi Lynch has been on this show. Of course, I know Bibi as well. She's fantastic. Tell us a little bit about the podcast, because if people can't see you live, they can obviously listen to your music. Get the new album
on YouTube. They can get the album on every. It's on everywhere. Spotify and iTunes and everywhere. Every single place. The podcast was really important to me because in telling these women's stories, which I do, and knowing them now so thoroughly and realizing their relevance upon all of us, because. And by the way, every single one of their stories reads like a movie. Every single one of them. But they were such badass women. They were so fearless and so empowered and like I say, unapologetic. And what I mean by that is so many of us, men and women, but so much a woman's thing is the feeling like somehow you go through life apologizing and wanting to put everybody first, taking care of everybody else first, and then yourself, never feeling like you're quite enough, always listening to other, and it's like these women were the antithesis of this. They were like, nah, I'm number one, and this is what I do, and this is it. Love it or hate it. And if you don't like it, I don't care. This is who and that is a beautiful gift. Knowing you are enough is difficult for all of us. And feeling like if somebody doesn't like what you do or who you are, it doesn't matter. There'll be plenty who do.
So true.
Matter. So that's what these women taught me. And I've been kind of trying to follow their lead since I was a little girl, but it just kind of hit really hard with me. And so I wanted to tell their stories. And Bibi Lynch was the perfect person to do this with and have that conversation with. And also to then reflect upon and expand upon how their stories relate to me and you and pretty much all women and men too, as far as what they teach us about feeling like you're enough, the power of no, knowing that all these things, it's like the stuff that these women have taught me goes beyond music. It is about how to be your authentic self through life, whether I'm on stage or off it. And that is something I talk about a lot in what I do, and talk about them and celebrate them and thank them for that fact. Because as a 5-year-old, literally when I first heard this music and thought, what is this? And because I didn't know it was about sex and like having a fantastic sexy time. I don't know that. I mean, no 5 years old do. But what I knew was there was so much joy in it. There was so much joy. And there was this brilliant piano and brilliant music and a great singer and a fabulous band. I felt it all. It made me want to dance around the room with joy. That is something that it's not about language. That's just in the feeling, that feeling of it that we all know. So I really encourage anybody that wants to find out about these women, women whose names are forgotten, but were huge stars in Britain, like Nellie Lutcher, because she was absolutely massive star in the 1950. But Nellie Lutcher, Julia Lee, Pearl Bailey, Blossom Dearie is somewhat known these days. Mary Lou Williams, nobody knows that name. Few people in America. Of course, Peggy Lee, probably the most famous of the women that I cover, but still needed to be celebrated for just what an extraordinary powerhouse she was, and how she was one of those female leaders who was a real trailblazer in saying, no, I choose everything. I am in command of my own ship. That was unheard of at that time. If we think it's hard now, try it in the 50s. And so the podcast is really those women's stories that will amaze you, amaze you. I'll give you one example. Nellie Lutcher, 12 years old in Lake Charles, Louisiana, playing piano in church. And the bump and grind blues singer, Ma Rainey, there was a film about her a few years back, blows into town for a gig, and her piano player's got absolutely like on a bender, no doubt, because they were just like unbelievably hard living people. And 12-year-old Nellie Lutcher now becomes the piano player for Ma Rainey, bump and grind, Ma Rainey, thank you very much, church, bump and grind. And she does it and she kills, and that's it. And to me, this is like, okay, that speaks of a very particular and wonderful human being.
Yeah.
And that was how she lived her entire life and the rest of her life, with this kind of elegance and wit and charm and joy. But she was always that leader. So, these stories are, like I said, that's just one of a multitude of stories about her. And I think it's really important to share the stories of women and to celebrate women. I think Halle Berry mentioned that in an Oscar Awards a few years back, about the importance of sharing women's stories, women sharing each other's stories, and particularly the ones that we should all be very grateful for what they did. And it just to be really supportive of each other. That's really the job here. It's like women need to be really great allies to each other, and to send out the information, the knowledge, the stories that they know, what they've learned, for all of the rest of us to hear, because we're all in the same boat. We all understand it. That's what this podcast is really about. It's just, we all need to hear this, because we're all feeling it, and we all need to get on that particular horrible carousel, that roundabout of rumination that just keeps you in that I'm not enough. And so that's what really it was all about.
Yeah. And also, it's just a little reminder that you're not alone. If you feel like that, you're not alone. We've all been there. We've all had experiences. And there's that collective understanding. As women, we understand each other. Life is complex, and emotions are complex, and experiences are complex, but we can all come together and celebrate each other. I mean, what better way to do it than celebrating music and being at a live performance, but celebrating with you, Judith, because you do it so splendidly well.
I'm passionate, and in my next project is a very female driven thing, but I do that in the knowledge that it takes a really good partner, whether it be a man or another, whoever you're with, male, female, and everybody in between. It takes a great person to be with a great woman. I'm just going to say that right now. I mean, it takes anybody to be with a great, let's leave it. But, the tendency, especially at that time, and it's still here today, is that women can't be as powerful and incredible and vital and dramatic, if that's who you are, because you have to sort of like lessen yourself so you're not too intimidating and aren't overwhelming, and all those other things that come in. Well, as it turns out, that's not the truth, and it just takes a great person to be able to look at somebody like me, and I would say that about my husband, and just kind of go, oh, I admire and love that in you. It also drives me crazy. But I love and admire that. And what I mean? I don't care. We all get it. It's all good. Being with anybody is the hardest thing in the world. Let's be honest. It's a bit pant load. But I look at my guys on stage. They're like backing up me, this larger than life thing on stage, and it feels right. And they love it. And that's what I love, you see. That's what I love. Because their respect and their appreciation sets the tone. That's what sets the tone of this show, is that we know the relationship here, and it's a fine one. It's a good one.
And it's a really positive one as well. So anybody coming down to London, or if they're coming to see you in Copenhagen, or even if they just get the album, put it on, get it on your vinyl, whatever way you listen to your music, pop it on, have a good bop around and feel good. And I think if anyone can make somebody feel good, it's you, Judith. I've experienced it, and you're an absolute joy. I love speaking to you, and I'm always grateful that you give me your time. So thank you.
I said to you earlier, I mean, I literally, when your name comes up, it's like you're having a chat with Emily. I'm like, yes. It's like seeing a friend, it's a friend's coming up. It's an old friend's name, and it's just like, I feel very happy. I love talking to you, and I loved meeting you in Guildford. I'm so glad you were there, really.
Gutted I missed you at the Jazz Cafe. We kind of missed each other, but the next time, Judith, I'll be there. I'll be like a stalker.
Everybody, just get on judithowen.net. You'll see it all there. Everything is there, and it's looking pretty exciting, because now it has this Judith Owen Comes Alive. Yes, like I said, I am finally alive. It has the whole thing with plenty to look at, plenty to watch. So thank you for having me on again, and I will see you very soon.
There's nothing more satisfying than a really fun, fabulous chat with the wonderful singer-songwriter Judith Owen. Her latest album is called Judith Owen Comes Alive. Yes, she really does come alive in this album. You can find it in all the usual places. Her podcast, Unapologetically Judith Owen, is also available to enjoy on major platforms. And if you want to find out more about this artist, you can head on over to judithowen.net. That's all for now. Once again, a huge thanks to my wonderful guest Judith Owen, and thanks to you for tuning in to yet another entertaining episode of Art to Art with Amanny Mo. You can listen or download episodes of Art to Art with Amanny Mo for free on all major platforms, YouTube, or visit my new website, Art to Art, that's art2art.uk. And if you want to search me out on socials, it's just AMANNYMO, all one word, on Instagram or X, formerly known as Twitter. There'll be more wonderful interviews and stories with guests from the world of arts and entertainment coming soon. Until next time, see ya!